Hello and welcome to episode 52 of AFC FYLDE Still We Rise. This is Football Manager 2020 and we are about to hit the 21-22 season. Today's episode will feature a bit of a transfer update and contain the friendly against our affiliate club Liverpool. The Reds are making their way to Mill Farm to play in front of a packed house. First, let's look at those transfers, and it does seem that the world is against us. Chris Porter has decided that he'd rather not take part in the battle in League One. He has decided to retire and couldn't be persuaded to stay. Both Kieran Lee and FM20, who were here on trials, suddenly decided they too had had enough of football. Both retired before we could even offer them a contract. And then there was the curious case of Albert Adoma. We'll get to him in a second. Let's look at those transfers. So the players that we have brought in include experienced Scottish international Paul Gallagher. Now he's a former Preston man, so very familiar with the local area, which I felt was a little bit important. And some really good stats. Look at the passing ability of 16, leadership of 18, lots of yellow. This is the type of player that we're going to have to move towards in League One. We're not going to survive with the same players that we've always had. So Paul, prior to his time at Preston, he was with the likes of Leicester, Sheffield United, and had a bit of Premiership experience with Blackburn. Tommy Elphick we discussed in our last episode, I believe. He was here on trial at the time. That has since been converted into a contract. So really pleased to have him on board. Most recently with the FC Cincinnati outfit over in Major League Soccer. Prior to that, career mostly spent Championship level with the likes of Hull, Villa, Reading and Bournemouth. Prior to that, he was with Brighton in League One. Lots of appearances, which is the experience that we're going to need, to be honest. Sam Severett is a young player we've brought in, very young from Leeds. He's going to bolster our under-23s, but I think actually we have an agreement with him that we're going to send him out on loan this season. So, not quite sure what that's all about. In fact, while we're here, let's do that. Albert Adoma. Now, we needed a winger to come in, really, even though his stats have somewhat taken a nosedive. Somebody who was comfortable on the left flank. He certainly is comfortable on the left. Then I got an inbox message saying that he was going to retire, and I had the opportunity to persuade him otherwise. I did do that. He hasn't responded yet, but when I look at his information, he's retiring on the 7th of June 2022, but he's still considering my proposal to stay on for another year. Not quite sure what's happening with him, if I'm honest. But we have a winger, which is what we needed. Danny Ward was here on trial. I actually really like the look of him, but he wanted £7,000 a week, and I just couldn't justify that sort of outlay on one player. As you can see, a career spent in the Championship with Bristol City, Middlesbrough, Villa, Cardiff, and most recently Nottingham Forest. Adam Rooney is the only player that we've spent any money on. With Chris Porter's departure, we did offer Chris a new contract to stay with the club as backup to Jamie Proctor, our #1 striker. Chris declined, decided to retire, so we had to go out and find somebody of a similar ilk. We needed somebody with a bit of experience that could come in off the bench and do the business for us, especially when Jamie Proctor has one of those spells where he's just not scoring goals. Plumped for Rooney. It's a bit of a gamble because previous to this he was with Salford in League Two, so it's not exactly a shining light as to his quality, but previously has played in League One, has played in the Championship with Birmingham, and with Aberdeen in the Scottish Premiership. So there is something there, and I'm hoping that he could be the man to step in when Jamie Proctor goes through a bit of a dry spell. George Marsh, a young lad we've brought in from Tottenham. He's a midfielder, bit of a backup player, most likely to the likes of Liam Bridcut in this defensive midfield role. Expect him to sort of feature in and out of the team. I don't expect him to be a starter from day one. In terms of transfers that are still going through, in fact, actually, let's have a look at players that have left the club. So, released players, as you can see, we had Cole Scouse here on a trial. He retired as well. One of 4 players that retired while under contract, with the club in the last few weeks. We've then got a host of players that are, in truth, National League players. Kurt Willoughby, Dan Bradley, Carl Jameson, Jack Muldoon, Danny Philliskirk, Matty Kozlovo, Ryan Croasdale, Dan Lavercombe, Charlie Farr, James Cragen and Jordan Williams. With the exception of Charlie Farr, who was a young player that we brought in the end of the first season to bolster our under-23 side that didn't really exist. The rest are National League players. They're the players that we had right at the start of the game. Aside from Muldoon, who was signed in the 1st January from Harrogate, the rest have been here since day one. And I just couldn't justify keeping them all for sentimental reasons. We have to move on. We have to bring in better players because we can't get away with it in League One. We got away with it in League Two. We could play these players. We could play Dan Bradley and we could play Jack Muldoon on the right. We're not going to be able to do that in League One. The step up is too far. Of those, Croasdale and Williams are probably the players that I would have preferred to keep. Both really spent the season whinging last year. I'm not dealing with it anymore. They're on the way out. Croasdale refused to sign a new contract, and then we've pretty much used him as a substitute from then on because we signed Liam Bridcut. Jordan Williams, I'd moved to the reserves and left to rot because he was just constantly complaining about clubs that weren't interested in him, especially Portsmouth. There was one bit at the start of the season which was derisory, and then all he could talk about all year was wanting to move to Pompey, who had moved on by that point. The other changes have been made in terms of staff. A host of staff have left, including our reserves manager, Ian Durant. He got offered a job at Rangers as reserves manager, decided not to fight it, let him go. The others are mainly under 18s and under 23 coaches, so lots of adverts have gone out and we are awaiting those to come back in. The most disappointing aspect probably of this whole pre-season has been our link up with Liverpool, in that we haven't really benefited. We've tried to sign a few players on loan, the likes of Harvey Elliott, Herbie Kane, Neco Williams is still ongoing, but nothing has really come off, which is disappointing. I expected to have an inbox item telling me the players that were available on loan. It's not happened so far, may happen before the end of pre-season, but has not come to fruition. So we've really struggled to actually benefit from our partnership, other than obviously the friendly that's about to happen, that is going to put some cash in our coffers. The 2 players that we are awaiting signing, one of them is Sir Tasdemir. So he was in on loan last season. We bought him in for, I think it was 14 starts, 13 substitute appearances. Was indeed. Did all right for us. Reliable. And with our problems on the wing, having let quite a few players go, the likes of Kozlovo and Williams, we did need to strengthen those areas. He was available for transfer, but only at a minuscule price of 18,000. It just seemed a bit of a no-brainer to make that offer and bring him into the club. He would also serve as somebody who is a graduated from our academy, which is something that we had last season where we had to play either him or Sheldon Green. He had to be part of the matchday squad. So he would serve that purpose, because I think young Sheldon is going to go out on loan. I think he just needs to develop a bit more this season. So I am going to offer him out. In fact, we'll do that in a second. The other one is Ashkan Dejaga, former Fulham man, former Wolfsburg man. Can play on the right wing. Good stats, I think. His physicals are kind of diminishing. He's not really a pacey winger, but lots of yellow on this screen, and he's the type of player that probably we do need to bring in. He has been here on trial, so hence why his stats are a bit more accurate than previously would be. Has been sort of moving around ever since his days at Fulham, when he was a bit of a cult favourite. So he spent time in Qatar, Germany, and his homeland of Iran. I think he's worth a punt. He's hardly worth anything in terms of contract. I won't touch it because I don't know quite what happens if I try and change it and then back out. 16 of flair, 15 technique. Interested to see if he signs. I'm not sure he will, but we'll give it a go. In other transfers still ongoing, Nigel Ryder from I think he's our under-18s team. Is Nigel? Yeah, young Nigel there. He's on his way to Altrincham. And Romario Vieira is planning a transfer over to Mansfield. They've come in for him on loan, and they're willing to pay his entire contract, take him to the One Call Stadium for the season, our old opponents in League 2. Today's fixture is against Liverpool. Before we get there though, I'm just going to do that offer Sheldon Green out to the other clubs, because if we do sign those two players, all of a sudden our squad is pretty full. Don't really care about his wages or anything like that. Let's just see what happens there. The other player we've got in on a trial at the moment is Paul Huntington. So a former Preston player. As you can see, his stats haven't quite become as accurate just yet. He's here, I think, for another couple of weeks. Prior to this, he was with Preston for a number of years, 10 years, something like that. And prior to that, he was Yeovil, Stockport, Leeds and Newcastle. So quite a variety of northern counties that he's played in. Greater Manchester, Yorkshire, Newcastle upon Tyne. I forget what the county is over there. Not sure about him. I'm not sure that he's worth a lot more than our current defence. Hopefully we get to have a look at him in the upcoming game against Liverpool. Speaking of which, it's a day when we will see some of our new players in action. Adoma on the left, Gallagher and Marsh in midfield. Elphick will partner, not Songo. I'm going to put Whitmore in there to start with. And on the bench, we've got the likes of Jovan Malcolm, who's come back in. He's back in on loan this season. I'm going to start with Adam Rooney up front. Rocco Reese was a goalkeeper that we signed, young player at the start of last season. So he spent a year with the under-23s and under-18s getting some games under his belt. Stats aren't brilliant, but they get in there. They're improving a lot over last season. So as we can see, he played 33 non-competitive games, 14 on as a substitute. Scored 1 goal. I'm guessing that was a penalty. Kept 19 clean sheets, so we did bring him in from Brighton. Not entirely convinced by him, but again, it's another opportunity to have an academy graduate on our bench. And here we go to play Liverpool. So this is this is really our marquee friendly. If you have a quick look at the old schedule, as you can see, we're playing our local teams: Southport Chorley, Squiresgate and AFC Blackpool. Bradford offered the opportunity for a friendly just before the start of the season, a week before. So they were one of the tough opponents that we played last season in League Two. So wanted to play them back at Mill Farm. We've obviously got this one here against Liverpool, which should boost our coffers. So if you look at income this month is 143,000. I would have thought that having Liverpool on board would greatly increase that number. Liverpool are predicted first in this season's Premier League, not a great shock. However, and this is the issue, they are the current World Club Cup champions. The Club World Champions, I guess you call them. They beat Bayern Munich in extra time over in Guangdong. Prior to that, and this is what is worrying me a little bit, in that we're going to get pumped, they were the FA Cup winners and the Champions League winners. They were second in the Premier League to Manchester City. So it doesn't really fill me with any confidence. In terms of the Carabao Cup, they lost that on penalties to Manchester City. So I don't think it's going to be a full strength Liverpool side, but I don't think it's going to be that far off either, which is a worry. If they're clever, they play first team defenders and give young attackers a bit of a run out, which is probably what I would do. But that'll be interesting. I expect to see Joe Gomez. I actually seen him at Mill Farm, taking in a game or two. So it would be somewhat of a regular occurrence for him to appear at Mill Farm. You can always tell that he's attended an AFC FYLDE game because there's about 15 children following him, asking him for his autograph. So Liverpool start with the likes of Xherdan Shaqiri, a fantastic player, somebody I admire greatly. James Milner and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain in midfield, senior men. Then we've got Robertson, Gomez as thought, Virgil van Dijk and Loris Karius in defence. On the bench, they've got some more stars in terms of Fabinho, Marcel Sabitzer, who signed for them, Wijnaldum, Matic and Lovren. Interestingly, number 15 there, H. Kane, not Harry Kane, that is Herbie Kane, a player we actually tried to sign on loan and we were turned flat down. Always nice to see. Spenny the Penny there, our assistant, with the team talk, which goes absolutely nowhere. And in terms of the game, the first thing I'm going to do is change us to key highlights. If we are going to get pumped by Liverpool, I don't really want it to be an extended, drawn-out process. Header over the bar by Liverpool, who have started well with 3 chances in the opening few minutes of the game. Another corner coming in, clearance, big verge there at the back post, and it's a goal already. 4 minutes in, and Curtis Jones with the assist, Harry Wilson the finish. Comes out to Virgil here. He's actually marshalled quite well, forces the ball back out to Jones, but there's quality on the cross and nobody really marking Harry Wilson at the back post. Something that I did want to do that I've completely forgot about. It just goes to show where my priorities have been lying over the last few weeks, trying to bring different players in, is that I do want to mark their striker, who is Brewster. Yeah. Let's set Alex Whitmore on him, just to give us at least a bit of a chance. I should say that we do tend to pick up bookings. If anybody hasn't watched AFC FYLDE, the Still We Ride series before, Luke Burke is well known for it, as was Jan Songo last season. I think he picked up 16 bookings. Bit of a shambles there. Hard man, but did the job for us. We wanted promotion, we got promotion. I'm not going to turn my nose up at that, even though if we've got a defender who likes to leave his foot in. Shaqiri on the counter now, and it's cleared out. Wilson recycles to Big Verge at the back. Neko with the cross. Is it an effort? Oh, it's a penalty. Now, I thought that was a clean tackle there. Is it Shaqiri? No, it's Milner who steps up. And Milner dispatches the penalty. I mean, you would hope that he would do the decent thing as in a testimonial and just pop it over the bar, but clearly not. His first goal after a long injury layoff, interestingly. So Liverpool are 2-0 up within 23 minutes. FYLDE yet to register a shot on goal. I may just encourage the boys here as a corner comes in. Whitmore heads away. Wilson will look to get the ball back in the box. Nego. The right back there. Don't know a lot about him. He looks rapid on the ball. Oxlade-Chamberlain. They're popping it around here. And in the end, Montgomery clutches the ball. Half an hour on the clock. Only 2-0 down against the world champions, European champions, FA Cup champions. So let's not think that this has been a bad day at the office so far. And it's cleared off the line. Liverpool continuing to show their quality. Even with a bit of a mix and match team. They've sort of gone with exactly what I thought they'd do, and that's go strong at the back and have some young players up at the front, the likes of Harry Wilson and Brewster in the striker role, who I have to say hasn't had too many sniffs of an opportunity. Well marshalled by Alex Whitmore so far. He says that just as Liverpool score their third, which is disallowed. Curtis Jones offside narrowly. I mean, look at that yellow and red line. That's hardly a foot in it there. So they've gone with Karius at the back, who I suspect is their backup goalkeeper. Van Dijk, Gomez and Robertson in defence. Give us a bit of a team talk. Oh, apparently Spenny the Penny thinks they did excellent. Right, let's keep that in. I'm going to make some changes at the break, because I think everybody should be given the opportunity really to play against a big side like Liverpool. Let's bring in Nick Horton, Bridcut for Marsh, Tyrone Williams, always a risk. That's in Still We Rise. That is pretty much akin to going down into the basement to check on that awful noise. We're also going to bring on Paul Huntington, our trialist, to see if he's any good. We tend to bring Tyrone. I'm still not certain about him. We signed him from Solihull Moors. He'll probably go and score now, won't he? Karius there, clutching the ball out of the air. Good distribution. A bit of a side kick there. As Liverpool again come in great numbers. And there's another assist by Curtis Jones. Or if we can get him on loan. To Harry Wilson. Not players that I suspect are interested in moving to AFC FYLDE. It's not going to stop me making a couple of cheeky loan bids and seeing what we can pull off. We are in League One now, and I have found that a lot of Premiership clubs that we go to looking at under 23 players refuse to send them down to us, which I think is a bit churlish, to be quite honest. I'm not quite sure what kind of outfit they're looking for their young players to go and play with, but so far it's not been ourselves, as Joe Gomez blocks our first effort on the Liverpool goal from Aaron Lennon. So Aaron was our big signing during the season last year. Brought a bit of quality to the team. England international, previously with the likes of Everton and Tottenham. He was our first big name that we went for and signed. Probably still is the biggest name, really. I don't think Adam Rooney counts, despite his exploits with the likes of Salford City. Gomez picking up a booking. That shows that he's having to get stuck in there, isn't he? But yeah, Curtis Jones, attacking midfielder centre, not a position we normally play, to be honest. But here's Walker with the ball forward, and look at Curtis Jones leading the charge all the way to the other end of the field. Exchanging passes there, and a great strike by Ojo. Yeah, it's another assist by Jones. Didn't do a lot with that one, I have to say, but it pads out his stats a bit as he plays a 1-2 with Herbie Kane. And then, look at Tyrone Williams. This is what I mean. For a player who's really a central defender playing at right back, he does seem to be a bit shy from making a tackle, which of course isn't something that plagues Luke Burke. So it's not a positional thing. I'm not messing about with the behind the scenes stats, the intention of the position. And you just wonder whether he's really cut out for playing at AFC FYLDE, to be quite honest, but I'm not going to have a go at too many players following a game against Liverpool, with the likes of Sabitzer, who's already on the plot here. FYLDE come forward through Proctor, back to Songo, and he's tackled by Ronaldo Vieira. James Montgomery making the save. One thing I haven't quite looked at yet is the attendance stats. 5,085 fans packed into Mill Farm to see the superstars of Liverpool. And I'll tell you what, Virgil van Dijk is going to play the full game here at Mill Farm. Easy victory for Liverpool. To be fair, we haven't actually been embarrassed by Premier League teams over the last few years. Again, Spenny the Penny hasn't really done the business for us. I think it was a good effort. No, it's not helping, is it? Right, well, he's just ruined that completely. Valverde takes FC Bayern hot seat. Interesting. So I wonder while we're here, can we have a quick look at the old finances? Oh, yes. So that must have brought in about 70 grams worth of income. Always nice to boost the coffers early in pre-season. While we're here then, let's have a look at Curtis Jones. He's probably not somebody. Who's he wanted by? Swansea? He is listed for loan. Shall we make a cheeky loan offer? Let's make him, in fact, post playing time, star player. We would have to change the whole makeup of the team if we signed him as a central midfielder, but I'm willing to do that. The other one was Harry Wilson, who seemed to play really well. Yeah, those are good stats. Oh, there's no chance of signing him. Valued at 23 million. Will they take him on loan? 40%. I'm going to take a punt. There's no chance he's signing for us. Oh, but we do have plenty of action in terms of our transfers. Can I see what they are? Normally when I click that, it tells me what they are. Doesn't matter. We'll check out our inbox. We're actually going to come to the end of the episode here, just as I do this. FYLDE outbid by Liverpool. Yeah, outclassed even. Yes, we know that. It's loan offers for Leveret. Now what I usually do on here is have a quick look down. So regular starter with Spennymoor and Chester. Regular starter with everybody. Regular starter. Fringe play for Torquay. No. You can reject that one out of hand. And a fringe play for Macclesfield. No. Ideally, I quite like him to be at somewhere like Stockport. Somewhere that's expected to be top of the Vanavara National League. But I might just accept all these other ones. In the meantime, what we are going to do is play some pre-season games off camera, and then we'll meet back up for our first game of the season, which will be Fleetwood away. So it's a local game over at the Highbury Stadium, which is an actually cracking little ground as well. If you're ever in the Northwest and get to go to a game at Fleetwood, it's a very nice stadium. I think we'll end up playing. We've got to do Bolton again, haven't we? I think we're going to end up with Fleetwood, Bolton and Salford, all local sides. Heading up into Christmas when we play the likes of Wigan and Hull. Sorry, that's September. God, there's a lot of games again in League One, isn't there? October seems a bit of a quiet month. November, there are big games there. Look at that, MK Dons and Portsmouth, along with the FA Cup. So I'm going to have to map out exactly who we're going to play for the rest of the season. Where do we end? Oxford and Shrewsbury at home. That's quite interesting, because if we are in a position where we're fighting for the playoffs, not that I expect that for this season, I expect us to narrowly avoid relegation, if I'm honest. Our expectations in terms of the different competitions we're in. Sky Bet League One, we're expected to fight bravely against relegation, which is exactly what we had last season. In League Two, FA Cup reached the second round, so we've just got to reach one more game than we're currently scheduled for. Same with the Carabao Cup, we've just got to get through Accrington to get through to the second round minimum expectation, and then the board don't really care about the leasing.com trophy. Neither do I. Thank you for joining us for today. That was episode 52, a bit of a mismatch of different things going on. Transfers, friendlies, fixtures, and the competition update. The next time you are here is that Fleetwood game when we visit the Highbury Stadium, and just before we do, I will just give you a quick update on any player comings and goings. Thank you for joining me today. I'll see you next time as we travel to Fleetwood.